Welcome one and all to episode 5 of Body, the Cloud9 Fancast. Today, we will be doing a preview of the 2016 Summer Split Playoffs. Following that, we'll talk about Cloud9 Challenger's world domination, High's retirement, and as always, PieMagicMan will slay the other esports. We will end with our favorite moments of the week and playoff predictions. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's jump in. I'm FrozenCreek. I'm accompanied by...
Hello, it's Havokpus once again.
Hey everyone, I am that infamous PieMagicMan.
Awesome. Well, welcome again. Thank you guys for coming back. So we're just going to jump straight into playoffs. Right now, we have two splits set up for the semifinals. They are best of fives, and they take place this weekend, which is August 13th and August 14th. The first one is on Saturday. That is Cloud9, the 3 seed, versus Team Envy, the 6 seed. And on Sunday, we have CLG as the 4 seed and Team Liquid as the 5th seed. Both of these will take place at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So before we jump into a preview of each team, we're going to talk a little bit about the meta and lane swaps, since lane swaps have virtually been eliminated from pro play with the new patch. PieMagicMan, can you give us a rundown on how this is going to affect the playoffs?
Alright, so for those who watch more League than they play, one of the big changes that really neutered the lane swap was a first blood award for turrets. So whoever kills the first turret, their team gets more gold. That doesn't happen to the next team, so it's very important that you get that first turret so you can start a snowball going. The first thing I want to talk about is the team that this really affects, CLG. In about 61% of their games, they lane swap. That's the second most lane swaps of all the NA teams. They win about 60.7% of games they lane swap, and only 44.4% of games that they don't. So there's a 16.3 difference in percentage points right there. Next up is Team Envy. They also lane swap a lot in about half of their games, and they win with 14.3 more percentage points in game in standard lane games. So this shift really favors them. Another team that favors highly is Immortals. They're not very lane swap heavy lane, less than 0.5%, but they do also have a huge 10.4 percentage point difference in games that they do standard lanes. Finally, since this is the Cloud9 Fancast, we should talk about Cloud9's and how it affects them. Well, with lane swaps, they only have a 3.3% percentage point difference when it comes to standard lanes. So they're better in standard lanes, but only slightly. Cloud9 is probably the team that's least affected by this. However, Impact is insanely affected by this. During a standard lane, he can be rated as the third best top. However, he is the third worst top when you take into account only the lane swap games.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We're going to dive into our preview of the playoffs. First, we're going to start with the Cloud9 and Team Envy series, which again takes place Saturday, August 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's noon for you Westerners who live out in the good places. Havokpus, can you give us a quick rundown on Cloud9 and what to expect from the team, who looks good, and a matchup and talking points about them?
I would be delighted. So, I think the big stories, pretty much all split for Cloud9 have been... I think everyone has played very well. You always have to talk about Jensen. You can't talk about Cloud9 without talking about Jensen, because he's great. When he is on, and he usually is, he pretty much lights everybody up. If you let him snowball with his LeBlanc, like we saw against Team Liquid, the enemy has no chance of winning. Meteos has done fairly well. I think even though he plays at a lower pace than some other top-tier junglers, he's very good at communicating with the team and coordinating things. And I think we've improved the communication coordination aspects as the split went on. Impact, also a really great player. I mean, I could go on, but I think we have a really stacked team against Envy, who has not really been the best. I think Envy's only strong players are probably Lod, maybe Ninja. Lod's has the third highest total KDA, I think.
That's among ADCs.
Yeah, among ADCs. And Proxen is among the fourth in junglers in terms of kill participation. So that's all really good, but when you look at how their team plays, they just don't really seem to measure up against Cloud9, who we've been able to beat pretty consistently. So I think if you just kind of stack them up player by player and see who wins, I think we pretty much have a big advantage. What do you think, PieMagicMan?
Yeah, so one of the big things I think should be looked out for is the Seraph versus Impact matchup. As we saw in the last meetup, Impact was able to bully Seraph even in a losing matchup, and he was able to take that lead. Meteos was able to come up and get him snowballing, so Seraph was almost a non-factor, while Impact was making a huge impact everywhere else and helping the team out.
Ooh.
I had to say it. I'm sorry, everyone. But I think that's going to be a huge factor in Cloud9 versus Team Envious, especially with the new changes to lane swap, since that standard lane will almost definitely happen.
The one thing that I really want to add is that Team Envy has been pretty bad at the end of the split. They started out with a 5-1 split winning opening during the first 3 weeks, a 5-1 record during the first 3 weeks, but they ended 2-6 in the last 4 weeks. So they lost a couple big games. Cloud9 has swept them both times this season. Now, I don't want to say there's such thing as an easy game. Trust me, I'm a Michigan State basketball fan. I don't want to talk about easy games and losing them. So this is a game that we have a high chance of winning, and I think we should win, but I don't want to say there's such thing as an easy game, especially when it comes to playoffs, because I think a lot of us would have said the same thing last split when we got destroyed by TSM in the first round. So we're going to move... Oh, do you have anything that you want to say, Havokpus?
Oh, I was just going to say how it was certainly weird that Envy started off really strong, but then kind of dipped. You could kind of take that two ways. You could either say, one, they just weren't that good of a team to begin with, if they just kind of tanked in the later parts of the split, or you could say that they kind of just got tilted because their first week of like big teams was they had to play us and then TSM like right after, so maybe that really shook their confidence. But I just find that really interesting.
Yeah, me too. I think they had a couple. Yeah, they did beat Team Liquid and CLG both times the first time through, but they ended up losing to them the next time in weeks 6 and 7. Or no, sorry, weeks 5 and 6. But talking about CLG and Team Liquid, we're gonna move on. CLG versus Team Liquid is kind of the powerhouse matchup, I guess, of the quarterfinals. Both teams kind of crapped the bed in week 9, and they had an interesting split for both of them. Team Liquid didn't finish 4th, and CLG really followed up their MSI second place with a very disappointing opening. They started out 3 and 5 in the first 4 weeks, but they did end 6 and 2 in the last 4 weeks. But there was really no one performing. Aframu was had the fifth most assists for supports. Xmithy had the 5th highest kill participation for junglers, and we saw them lose a couple games. They got swept by Apex, but they did beat Cloud9. Team Liquid had a very strong middle of the split, where between weeks 3 and 6 they went 6-2 with wins over Cloud9, but they did follow that up with a crappy end to the split. They were pretty underwhelming too. They did keep their trend of fourth going, with Fabi fourth ADC in KDA. Phoenix had the fourth most kills of any mid. Matt had the fourth most assists of any support, and Dardoch had the fourth most kill participation of any jungler. Havokpus, what are you looking forward to seeing in that matchup?
Well, it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm always looking forward to Dardoch, because Dardoch is a really fun jungler to watch. He plays really similarly to how Rush played. So, and anytime you see a guy just go crazy off in the jungle, it's really fun. I think another thing to watch would be the mid lane matchup. I think Phoenix has really proved that he can be a very strong mid laner. I think he's one of the ones that have kind of been overlooked, since you have Jensen, Pobelter, and Bjergsen in the mix. But I think he's fairly good, and it'll be interesting to see if who he can maybe overcome all those memes saying how bad he is, and actually be a fairly good mid laner, or if Phoenix is going to overtake him.
I think we can all agree that who he's mid is underwhelming. He looked really good on the first rise of the split. Has anybody seen him or know if he's playing the new rise at all? I would assume he is.
I mean, he's probably practicing with it. I haven't seen him like through a stream or anything, but he's very interesting because he can do very well on very specific champions. Like, he can do very well with Ryze or Cassiopeia, but if you put him on Azir, he just kind of seems to fall apart. So he's one of those mid laners that it's just really interesting to watch to see what he does.
Yeah, I think he did solo kill Jensen in their second matchup of the year, which we can say that it was Jensen's fault for doing it, but he still did it. I guess I would agree that he's inconsistent. For the quarterfinals, those two matchups, the two winners will go on to play TSM in Immortals. The team with the higher seed will play TSM, and the team with the lower seed, meaning like 2 and 3 are the next lowest seeds. The highest seeds are 5 and 6. So, 3 and 4 will play will play Immortals, who's the second seed, while the higher seeds will play TSM. So if Cloud9 wins, they will play Immortals automatically. But if Cloud9 loses, whomever wins the CLG Team Liquid matchup will go on to play Immortals. But while we're talking about Immortals in TSM, can one of you give us a lowdown on Immortals in TSM?
Yeah, I can go ahead and cover that.
Awesome. Thanks, PieMagicMan.
So first, let's go over Immortals. The second place team, they finished with a 16-2 record. The only 2 losses they had were to TSM. So they're able to beat any team below them. You have Adrian, the second best support with second best support KDA with a 5.8. He has the most assists with 458. Got Wild Turtle, he's a killing machine. So is Pobelter, and of course you have the amazing duo of Huni and Rainover, who are able to just go ahead and just steamroll over that top lane. Or a few things to look for is kind of like champion pools and meta issues. Last split, we saw Huni try something interesting, to say the least, with top Lucian. You also see when he built his Echo, while most people were generally going the Iceborne Gauntlet into Sunfire tank build, he would go Rod of Ages full AP Echo to try and clearly win his matchup. So, as well as Adrian, his support pool is mostly there to protect Wild Turtle rather than a more engage heavy champion pool, it seems. Looking at TSM, they are first place with a 17-1, or as some people like to say, a 17-0 record. Then, of course,
it's like the Barry Bonds asterisk or Mark McGuire asterisk next to it.
And you just look at their players, and across the board, they're fantastic. Bjergsen and Biofrost have the highest kill death KDAs of the entire league. Biofrost has an 8.3 and Bjergsen has a 7.1. Biofrost is also the third in kill participation percent. He's involved with 75.7% of all kills that TSM does. Double Lift is also way up there in KDA. Honster is proven to be a great laner. He's the highest CS differential at 10 minutes with a CS differential of plus 7.8. And Sven contributes to the most first bloods of any team in the NALCS. With 56% of the games, he gets first blood. Some of their key wins, Immortals. They beat them 2-1 in week 2, and then came back in week 9 to beat them 2-0. And that was, of course, coming off their one loss to Phoenix 1. A couple things to look out for is Double Lift. He has been playing stronger than ever. He's also been taking up that mantle of shot caller, and it's been working pretty well. The other thing is Biofrost. This rookie came in, and he took over Yellowstar, who was a world-class support, and the team struggled with him, and this rookie comes in, and they just look to be the strongest NALCS team to ever have played.
Oh, well, Yellowstar hasn't really looked that good at Fnatic either. I'm not sure if that's him or if it's a Fnatic, but they've looked pretty uninspiring also. But looking at the matchups again, do any of the quarterfinal teams, Cloud9, Team Envy, CLG, or Team Liquid, have any chance against Immortals in TSM? Or what do you think, Havokpus?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I think if anyone is going to beat Immortals, I would probably say Cloud9 has the closest chance for the semifinals. I think in terms of going against TSM, I think maybe CLG probably has a good shot. CLG is one of those teams where individually they're not that great. I think maybe besides Afromu and maybe Xsmithy or Stixay. But anyway, they're not good individually, but together they make a really great team, and they work really well together on teamwork. And TSM does really well on teamwork. And we'll probably get to see another 5-game series of TSM versus CLG, and it'll be a really bloody, really heart-pounding game because they just hate each other, and they use that hate to drive them. And I really hope they do play each other because I really want to see that happen.
I think if TSM's gonna fall, I think it's probably gonna be in that next series, assuming they play Team Liquid or CLG. If they play Team Envy, I forecast no situation where Team Envy can beat a TSM. But I do think that Team Liquid or CLG could beat TSM. But other than that, I don't really see too many teams beating them. They just look so good, and it took a cheese pick, and it took that cheese pick to get insanely fed for anyone to take a series off them. So I don't know. They're just scary right now. What do you think, PieMagicMan?
Well, I mean, it took that cheese pick, but you also have to wonder, were they just not really focused on Phoenix 1 because they were the last near the bottom of the standings, and it just kind of took them by surprise because they convincingly 2-0'd Immortals last week, and Immortals had convincing wins against all these other teams, so it's kind of hard to say, but I think that, like I said, this iteration of TSM looks to be the strongest NA team to have ever played here, so I'm really not expecting anyone to actually be able to beat them.
So I don't want to jump into it too much, but can anybody beat TSM in the playoffs? Or are they just going to win it all pretty easily?
That's a really good question. I think if Cloud9 plays the way that they played last week and just play very coordinated, very communicative, and ready to try to do what they can. I think they could maybe at least take it to 4 to 5 games. The thing with TSM is I don't know where this comes from, but this split have just looked so coordinated. They always play as a team, and they're calling roams and doing all this other stuff, and they're just looking so good. And I don't know what's the factor, but whatever they're doing, it's working extremely well, and it's going to be really hard for any team, I think, to really beat them in a best of 5 series.
I mean, I would say CLG or Cloud9 might have the best chances. I mean, you saw how CLG versus TSM went last split. Seeing the improvements that CLG has made throughout the split, if they can get that cohesion and teamwork back together, who knows what could happen. However, the big macro play aspect of it has kind of faltered with the new patch changes. C9, I really am excited to see if they've continued on that upward trend since they've been on since that mid-season slump. If they can continue to improve, if Reaper can continue to get the team communicating, get that coordination down, it could be a really interesting series. But as I said, I think TSM is just too far ahead, as much as it pains me to say that.
Yeah, first off, thank you, Reaper. And 2, I would love to see a Cloud9 versus TSM a matchup, and maybe we can get a Sejuani pick from Meteos, though that's highly doubtful. But we're going to move on to Cloud9 Challenger. Much to many people's dismay, Cloud9 Challenger went 3-0 over Team Energy, giving them a bid to the NA LCS. Allegedly, according to the interviews after the game, everyone wants to stay on board for whomever buys the slot, except for Hai, who's going into retirement. We'll talk about Hai on another episode, but I think we're gonna devote a whole episode solely to Hai, just because of what he means to Cloud9, because he pretty much was the embodiment of Cloud9 for 3 years. So there was a lot of controversy regarding the Cloud9 team, the Cloud9 Challenger team, the split. Can either of you give us a rundown of what happened and why it's been so controversial?
So basically, what happened is Cloud9 qualified for the Challenger split, and the roster that they had was pretty much an LCS caliber roster. You had Balls in the top lane, you had, at the time, Rush in the jungle, Hai mid lane, Alltech AD carry, and Lemonation at support. So you already have like these 5 really capable players going against Challenger players who haven't really had any experience against these kind of players before. And it seems kind of lopsided. And people had this problem of there kind of being this huge skill gap that you have to kind of cross. And there can be this whole debate over about developing North American talent. But people have kind of blown the whole thing out of proportion a little bit.
We're not going to jump into that too much this week. I know a lot of people have opinions about this, so we'd appreciate if people emailed them at bodyfatcast@gmail.com, and we'll read off and discuss some of the opinions in the next episode next week when we have more time. I do know that a lot of the controversy strummed up Cloud9 to release a list of amateur players that have been in the org or are currently in the org. So it's obviously rustled some enemies inside the organization. And Jack actually commented on in our League of Legends thread today. So, but we're gonna skip that controversy. Did either of you get a chance to watch the 3 matches over Energy?
I got to catch, I think, this little bit at the end of Game 2 and the last Game 3. but it was pretty great. Contracts was just, man, that hacker in play.
Oh
He
man,
was-
it was impressive. He looked really, 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 really good.
And I heard that the game before that, High just went off. And you could really tell that High and Contracts had this synergy to where whoever's not kind of carrying the team or doing a lot for the team, the other will really pick up the slack. So it's really great to see that Contracts can really develop this synergy with his teammates.
That's always the pleasure of watching a team with High, is that he just loves to go in, and that's what he wants to do, and he will tell his team to do it, and they will follow him up.
Yeah, I did watch all 3 games against Energy. I really do think that Energy deserved to get relegated. They looked pretty bad, and GVM was one of the worst mid laners I've seen in a couple years. High, that the old guy destroyed him in lane. It was pretty embarrassing, and Cloud9 Challenger pretty much just walked over them for 3 games, and then they ended up losing to Equifax, who won one series all split. So I will say, I'm sorry, Energy, but you weren't good enough to stay in an LCS, and good luck to them in Challengers series next year. I believe I saw that they weren't going to sell the spot. Oh wait, no, sorry. Ignore that. That was a Shaka. But we are going to move on to PieMagicMan and the other esports.
Yeah, so it's actually a relatively quiet week in the other esports. For Overwatch, Cloud9 played in the Beyond the Summit tournament. They beat the teams TSM and Liquid, where TSM has been a problem for them in the recent past. However, they're still unable to take a game off of Envy, who double eliminated them in this tournament. For fans of Smash, Mango made a last-minute entry into the Clutch City Clash tournament. He made it into winners finals, where SFAT actually had a surprise upset and beat him, dropping him down to losers, where he's able to take out Westball's 3-0. Comes across SFAT again, who is able to double eliminate Mango. I feel like I should be worried, however, he's been streaming a bunch of other games, so I'll give him a break here. Call of Duty. They played at MLG Orlando, and although they were unable to take a set in pools, they fought through the open winners to make it into the losers bracket of championship. Unfortunately, they came across Team Envious in round 4, who won the set 3-2, knocking out Cloud9.
Awesome. I cannot wait to finally devote some time to watching the other esports instead of just catching them on and off every now and then. Now that the NALCS is starting to wind down, I'm really looking forward to spending some more time watching the other games. Because I don't really play them, but I do enjoy watching them at the very least. Havokpus, do you have anything to add?
No, yeah, I'm ready to get into some Overwatch, get into some Halo, because I really want to watch those teams, but with school and the fact that League of Legends actually has a fairly good, consistent schedule, it's kind of harder to keep up with the other games that are being played, so this will certainly give me a chance to kind of catch up and watch something else for a change.
Yeah, and there's a stupidly long break between the end of the split and Worlds, but I think we'll probably get to see. I hope that we get to see Cloud9 in the Gauntlet. I mean, I would assume, or I would hope that they would just get an auto placement in the Worlds, but I think it's going to require a Gauntlet run to get there. We are going to move on to our closing segment of what are your predictions for the quarterfinals of the NALCS this week. We'll start with you, Havokpus. Give us a prediction for both matchups. Start with Cloud9 and Team Envy first.
Okay. Well, for Cloud9 Team Envy, I think it's going to be pretty cut and dry. Cloud9 wins 3-0 or maybe 3-1. Maybe we do drop a game just because of fatigue, I would say. Which is pretty, I think that's easy to say. As for CLG versus TL, that's going to be a rough one. I'm not really sure who's going to win because they seem fairly evenly matched teams and they're pretty good in their own respects. I kind of want CLG to win just so I can see them play against TSM again. So I'm gonna say CLG 3-2.
All right, and PieMagicMan, what do you think?
I have to completely agree with C9 versus Envy. They just got destroyed last time they met up, and I expect it to happen again. 3-0, unless, some sort... I have to say it's probably some sort of cheese happens to get the 3-1 win. CLG versus Team Liquid. I want this one to go to 3-2. Like, their last best of 3 went 2-1, and CLG won from 10k gold down. Like, some amazing team fight. I want to see CLG pull it off. I think if Team Liquid fixes a couple of their mistakes, then they'll win. I really want CLG to, but I think Team Liquid will have it 3-2.
I also agree that this is going to be a bloodbath. I have a hard time picking who I think is going to win. I would love to see CLG win, just to have the smug smirk wiped off Dardock's face. Though I do enjoy watching him, but I just think he's a little... He's kind of like that kid you meet in sports who's younger, who's like a freshman or a sophomore, but gets put up on varsity because he is good, but he's kind of a dick. And
Shots fired. Pew, pew.
Yeah, I have no problem saying that from my armchair. It's not like I'm sitting in Challenger Elo myself, so I guess I shouldn't be able to say much, but I'm going to. I'm gonna say Team Liquid's gonna win this one 3-1 in 4 games. As much as I would like to see Dardock lose, I don't think CLG can win this one without a lane swap and in standard lanes. I just think Team Liquid is too good right now. So we're gonna move on to our favorite moments of the week. We'll start with you, PieMagicMan, this time. What is your favorite moment in esports? In anything in esports?
I don't quite know if this counts, but I'm a huge Mango fan, so watching parts of his 27 hours 60 seconds stream, that was a good time.
Oh god, that's pretty long. Havokpus, what's your moment of the week?
I'm gonna have to go with the big man Rick Fox for having his team stay alive and go to another split. I'm not much a fan of the team in terms of the roster, but as an owner, he seems like the kind of guy that a player would want to be associated with, because he really does have a real passion for the game and really wants to see all of his players succeed. So I really hope that he can dust himself off, maybe make some roster changes, and have Echo Fox really be a contender for next season.
Yeah, one thing I was... when I started watching Energy versus Echo Fox, I was pretty sure that Energy was going to win just because Echo Fox was so bad this split. And I was hoping that Froggen could take over for High. But if Echo Fox is still in the LCS, then I don't know what's going to happen. They have a lot to make up for on their roster just because they perform so poorly. Perhaps maybe now that there's summer together in the split could maybe make them good, but I think they need to make a change or two. I also thought that Rick Fox was super classy. I hate that word, but super classy when after the series against Energy, he the first thing he did was ran over to Energy and said, I guess his congratulations or condolences, I guess, for knocking them out. But while his team was celebrating, he made sure to go talk to Energy before they left the stage. I thought that was pretty impressive. But my moment of the week, I'm going to talk about High, just because I think he's been such an important person in the Cloud9 organization, and it's sad to see him go. I also want to give a shout out to all the people who now hate High just because of the Cloud9 Challenger team. I regretfully engaged in conversation about this in the our League of Legends subreddit, but just remember High at his best, because he's done so much for Cloud9 as an org with several different worlds trips, and it's just sad to see him go again. So, thank you, High, and maybe I'll see you back on Mission State's campus again someday. But that is the end of the 5th episode of Body the Cloud9 Fancast. Feel free to tweet us questions and feedback to @C9Bodied on Twitter, or you can email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. Again, we would love to hear some feedback on Cloud9 Challenger. Do you think it was ethical, fair? Do you think they're now the worst people in the world? Either way, we'd love to hear your feedback, and we'll talk about some of our responses on the next episode. And any questions you might have or feedback, feel free to send us, and we will respond potentially on the next episode. Again, I want to thank you, PieMagicMan.
Thanks for having me on.
And thank you, Havokpus.
Glad to be on.
Plus, behind the scenes this week, we had Blaster working with some statistics, and our homeboy, WonderWaffle, for mixing the audio again. He's done this every week so far. It's saved us a ton of time and work, and I'm glad he's doing it because I do not want to do it. So, thank you so much for joining us again this week. We'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.